Breaking news! What if I told you the Baltimore Ravens are on the edge of a seismic decision that could reshape the entire identity of the franchise? What if I told you the man who has been the face of leadership for over a decade may no longer be the solution, but the problem? The truth is, behind closed doors, change is brewing. Whispers are growing louder, and all signs are pointing to a move that could either reignite the fire in this team or burn it all down. But before we dive in, if you're a real Ravens fan and you're passionate about this team's future, make sure to hit that like button right now. And while you're at it, drop a comment below and tell us, should the Ravens finally move on from John Harbaugh? Or is he still the right man to lead this team? Just type, "Go Ravens," if you're riding with the flock no matter what. Let's get into it, because Ravens fans, we need to talk about John Harbaugh. The 2025 season was supposed to be special, coming off a year where Baltimore entered with the second best odds to win the Super Bowl, trailing only the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. The expectations couldn't have been higher. But what we got instead was regression. Not a stumble, not a minor hiccup, a full-on backslide. You want numbers? Here are the numbers. In the span of just one season, the Ravens dropped from the number 1 ranked team in overall DVOA to 14th. Offensively, they fell from 1st to 11th. Defensively, from 6th to 17th. The only area that didn't fall apart? Special teams. And even that irony stings, considering it was special teams that played a role in how this season ended. How does a team with this much talent fall apart this dramatically? How do you go from Super Bowl contender to sitting at home in January? The blame has to land somewhere. And right now, all eyes are on John Harbaugh. Fans and analysts alike are starting to come to a consensus. The Ravens may need to move on. This isn't about disrespecting Harbaugh's legacy. He brought a Super Bowl to Baltimore and has led this team through countless battles. But what has he done lately to inspire confidence? The answer? Not much. The harsh reality is this. The Ravens are no longer trending upward. They're spiraling in the wrong direction, and Harbaugh is the common denominator. Now to add more fuel to the fire, NFL insider Jocelyn Anderson dropped a tweet that set off alarm bells. League sources have been anticipating potential change at the coordinator level in Baltimore. Stay tuned for the latest. While she didn't mention Harbaugh by name, her words have fans speculating. If the coordinators are on the hot seat, could Harbaugh be next? The leading candidate for the chopping block? Defensive coordinator Zach Orr. And quite frankly, it's long overdue. Let's call it what it is. The defense fell apart. Last night's meltdown was just the tip of the iceberg. Against a group of wide receivers who had a combined 62 receptions on the season, 28 from Calvin Austin, 8 each from Adam Thielen and Scotty Miller, and scraps from Valdez-Scantling and Ben Skowronek, the Ravens gave up 11 completions on 14 attempts for 133 yards and a touchdown to Aaron Rodgers. That's with a fourth-quarter passer rating of 130.1. Let that sink in. Yes, Kyle Hamilton was out. But is that an excuse for collapsing this hard? No. A great coordinator adjusts. A competent one finds answers. Over the last 2 seasons under Zach Orr, the Ravens have given up a league-worst 122 pass plays of 20-plus yards and 66 completions of 20-plus air yards. Those aren't just numbers. Those are back-breaking plays that lose you games and seasons. So if Zach Orr is on his way out, and it certainly feels like he is, who could replace him? Raheem Morris is one name that stands out immediately. Recently let go by the Atlanta Falcons, Morris may not be head coach material, but as a coordinator, he's a tough, physical-minded leader who could bring back the play like a Raven mentality this team sorely lacks. He's been there. He knows what it takes. Then there's Jonathan Gannon. He was recently let go as well, but remember, this is the same defensive architect who helped guide the Eagles to a Super Bowl win with a dominant unit. Gannon's scheme would be a breath of fresh air compared to what we've seen over the past 2 years. And how about a homecoming? Anthony Weaver, currently with the Dolphins, could be available depending on what happens with Mike McDaniel in Miami. If Weaver becomes available, Baltimore should be the first team on the phone. He knows the city, he knows the culture, and he knows what it means to wear purple and black. But what about the offensive side? Todd Monken, while not as loudly criticized as Orr, is not exactly safe. Fans questioned his play calling all season, especially when it came to personnel usage. Why was Derrick Henry not on the field in key moments? Why did the offense seem to click better with Tyler Huntley under center than with Lamar Jackson, the league MVP? These aren't minor questions. They're symptoms of a deeper issue. Right now, the prediction from those close to the team is that Harbaugh and Monken survive this wave, and Zach Orr takes the fall. That's the expectation. But is that enough? Does removing or solve the larger problem? Or is he just the scapegoat? Because here's where things get real, Ravens fans. If we're talking about making a single move, just removing Zach Orr, is that truly going to reverse the direction of this franchise? It feels more like damage control than a strategic course correction. And the problem with that approach is that it keeps the foundation untouched. The same structure, the same decision-making chain, the same voice leading the locker room. That's John Harbaugh. He's the longest tenured coach in franchise history and one of the longest in the NFL. But let's not confuse longevity with success. Since winning the Super Bowl in 2012, what have the Ravens really accomplished? A few playoff wins, a few first-round exits, and more than anything else, a pattern of underachieving when it matters most. And that's the core of this discussion. It's not about hating Harbaugh or ignoring his past contributions. It's about results. In a league where coaching turnover happens fast for lesser failures, Baltimore's patience has started to feel like complacency. Because let's face it, if this exact resume belonged to a coach in Dallas or New York, he wouldn't still be on the sideline. That's the hard truth. Now, if you're an optimist, maybe you buy into the idea that one key change, removing or could create a domino effect. Bring in a stronger defensive mind, tighten up the scheme, improve the communication and game planning, and suddenly, the defense looks like a top 10 unit again. That's the hope. That's the gamble. But here's the catch. What if that doesn't happen? What if it's not just about who's calling the plays, but the tone set by the head coach himself? What if the entire vibe of this team has gone stale under Harbaugh's leadership? You could feel it in how the team played down the stretch. The physicality wasn't there. The confidence faded. The fight, the thing this franchise built its reputation on, was missing. This wasn't just a team losing games. This was a team losing identity. And for a city like Baltimore, that matters. Which brings us to an even broader point. Beyond Zach or beyond even Harbaugh, what's the vision for 2026? Because let's be honest, next season's schedule isn't doing them any favors. Sure, the home slate looks manageable with teams like the Titans, Saints, and Bucks coming to town. But those road games, they're brutal. You've got Buffalo, Dallas, Houston, and Atlanta, all potential playoff caliber squads. If the Ravens don't make real changes this offseason, how do they expect to survive that gauntlet? How do they plan to compete with the top-tier AFC teams like Kansas City, Miami, and Buffalo? Right now, this feels like a team caught in limbo, good enough to stay relevant, but not bold enough to become elite. And that leads us back to Harbaugh. Let's say Zach is removed. Let's say they even bring in someone like Raheem Morris or Jonathan Gannon, guys with real credentials. That might help, but will Harbaugh allow that voice to lead? Will he evolve with his staff? Or will it be more of the same? Safe decisions, conservative game plans, and post-game explanations that leave fans wanting? There's a feeling around this fan base, a real, growing belief, that the Ravens are one major decision away from unlocking their full potential. That this roster, with Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry, Kyle Hamilton, and Roquan Smith, should not be wasting time spinning its wheels. That the window is now. That's why this offseason can't just be about scapegoats. It has to be about direction. Because if we're being completely honest, the Ravens don't have time to waste. This isn't a team that's rebuilding. This isn't a roster made up of young players just trying to find their identity. This is a team built to win now. And every season that ends in disappointment is another year lost in Lamar Jackson's prime. Another season where veterans like Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, and Mark Andrews get one step closer to their physical ceiling. Another shot at a championship that slips away, not because of a lack of talent, but because of coaching decisions and an unwillingness to evolve. Think back to how this season ended. It wasn't just a bad loss. It was a collapse. And not the first one. This team has made a habit of falling short when it matters most. Blown leads, questionable game management, lack of urgency in the biggest moments. Those aren't random issues. Those are coaching problems. And John Harbaugh, as respected as he is, has to take responsibility. Now, imagine what happens if Baltimore decides to keep everything the same. If Harbaugh stays, if Monken stays, if only Zach is replaced. What does that signal to the rest of the locker room? What message does it send to the fans? That one scapegoat was enough to explain an entire season of underachievement? That's not accountability, that's denial. And here's something else to think about. If you're an elite defensive mind looking for a DC job, are you eager to work under a head coach whose status is in question? Would someone like Raheem Morris or Jonathan Gannon even want to step into that kind of instability? That's why clarity at the top matters. If the Ravens are serious about turning the page, they can't do it halfway. They need to take a stand. Either fully back Harbaugh and give him the power to reshape this staff.